Well, hello. I want to be a real estate agent group. I thought I would go for a walk today because it's so nice out. So you are with me in the seedy back areas of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just kidding. There's no seedy parts of Cary. Maybe one. I think I know where one seedy spot is, but they have really good food there. So that makes it not so bad. Anyway, so today's topic, since no one was brave enough to post one for me to babble about, is I'm going to talk about rentals. So one of the first things that often happens when you're starting a real estate career is that you need something, anything, some form of money. And it's all a big desperate thing. You're like, oh my gosh, I've got to get clients. Yeah, you do. And one of the things you gotta remember and think about is to do this appropriately. It's a long-term thing. When you're doing a long-term thing, it's like, so I used to farm hay, and that's an 8-year crop. So you plant once and you tend to it, and then it grows and it has a lot of weeds in it, aka not the best clients that you want to have. So what you do is you mow, clear them out, remove them from the area by mowing them, and then you start getting a good crop. And I have found through all of my business adventures is that when you start getting rid of clients you don't want or that aren't good for you, you start doing better. You start getting better clients. They come to you out of the blue. It's weird, but it's true. You get rid of the bad ones, then you start saying no, and the right clients start coming. Not sure why that is, but it's a repeatable thing. So when you have your 8-year crop, now for real estate, it's not that bad. It's not 8 years. It's not like it'll take you 8 years to get going. Depending on who you're with, what company you're with, how much you already know about business in general, it can make that go faster. State of mind has a big thing to do with that. So depending on how things are going for you in your life in general, that'll make a difference. If things are tough and you don't have I didn't have the best start, had a whole lot going on, and then right when I started going, COVID hit. So that put a big damper on things. But you can get past it. You can work around it and finding it. A lot of times, excuse the plane, we're not far from RDU. A lot of times it does take a bit of luck. So you can have all of the best education, pass all your tests, first go around and stuff. That would be me. Have business experience and still have a rough go. So there's lots of things that explain that, but it's not, just keep at it. Persistence is a big part of it. I'll get to the rentals and how this works in a sec. So with that little bit of luck and good education and good people that you're working with and maybe a good company that suits your personality, because not all companies suit everybody's personality and abilities and what they have in their asset box, their asset list. What happens is, going back to the crops, you got to take care of it. So after you get that first year of hay, money, gotcha. What happens after the first year is that you have a really nice starter crop, starter harvest, and then what happens next is next year goes around. Winter's a thing in real estate, just like any other business. It does slow down a bit, and then spring, about April, it starts picking up a little bit more. And this is generally speaking. This isn't for everything. Every market, sorry. This isn't for every market. It's not like this all over, necessarily. Some places are better than others as far as markets and seasons. What happens is your next crop comes easy. It doesn't take as much fertilizer. You don't need fertilizer at first because then you would be overwhelmed, and that's not good either. Being overwhelmed will be hard to handle your first year or two, so you don't want to be overwhelmed either. That's not bad, or that is bad. It's not good. But after your third year, things should start coming a little bit easier. With hay, you have to then fertilize again after third year sometimes. That just means you need to up your game a little bit. You've upped your game, so you've got to up your marketing. And then a lot of times too, this is very true. Real estate is marketing. You've got to market. You've got to be good at marketing. At least find it somewhat entertaining. Find some marketing thing that makes you happy and that gives you energy and focus. That makes it make a lot more sense. And then it's a lot more fun, and you'll enjoy it more if you find a little niche marketing thing. So one of the things that I have found was annoyingly useful is helping renters. And I say annoyingly useful because when you're working with renters, you don't get any money for renters. You do. If you worked 100 renters, you'd have $1,000 a month-ish. Maybe, if you're lucky. Sometimes the rental companies will pay you a little bit. The most I've seen was $500. But then trying to figure out in the beginning, the paperwork for rentals is almost just as difficult as it is for buyers sometimes for doing a full transaction. I didn't like it. I fought it tooth and nail. But then when my moving to North Carolina group, moving to Raleigh, North Carolina, Carrie, Apex, I put a bunch of big names in that title. When that started taking off, oh man, now I have so many renters. And then they get I try to help everybody that I can. Not everybody, but everybody that I can. Sometimes I can't help people because I'm in the middle of a transaction, or transactions got too out of control, like too busy, out of control in a good way, for me to be able to help people. So I toned it down to helping one. I promised the group I would help at least one person a month. Then I noticed, and this is kind of cool, that when I would help one renter, and this is thick as a box of rocks sometimes, I realized, the renters sometimes become buyers. And when I'm working with people in general, I get mildly attached to them. I like them as human beings. They're neat people. Their families are cool. They're doing a big, scary thing. And I get to help them. Moving isn't easy. I get to help them pick a place to live and settle in and work at getting a place, which, it's September 5th, I think, 2021. Rental stuff is difficult right now because there are 80 people a day, last I checked, and that was kind of a while ago, moving to the Triangle, which is Raleigh, Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, Fuquay, Varina, this whole area surrounding Wake County, which is where Raleigh is, and Durham. Can't forget Durham. Durham's huge. So we have 80 people a day moving here. A lot of them are renters. And what happens for these poor renters is that nobody wants to help them because real estate agents don't make any money off of renters, placing renters. Usually it's about $75, maybe $150, but like I said, that one time I had a $500 one, but I never did the paperwork because it's confusing. I hate the paperwork for rentals. So what I do is I tell these renters, like, look, I'll help you. I'll talk to the real estate agent, because a lot of times the real estate agents that are listing them won't even call these people back. Or Zillow hasn't taken them off, and they're getting 75 calls a day on these rentals that have already been filled 2 months ago. That's been a thing lately, and Zillow doesn't seem to want to fix it. So that can be an annoyance to everybody. But what I'm doing is I get, kind of attached to these people too. They're good people, a lot of them. I haven't run across somebody I didn't like with the renters even. But you get to enjoy helping them, and all it is it's pretty dark back here. All it is helping people, and they appreciate that a lot. Like, they're very grateful that you stepped up and you helped them out a little bit. And putting somebody in a rental really isn't all that hard. It's just set them up in the MLS and give them a list that'll automatically send. And then they have their list of places to choose from. And then you call the real estate agent, because you're real estate agent to real estate agent. They kind of will talk to you a little bit more readily, especially if they have listings up. They'll answer the phone a little bit more. And not knowing that it's about the rental is kind of helpful too. So sometimes you can get through, and you can actually get somebody into a place. I have somebody who's really close to getting one. And then another thing with that is I've got family moving in internationally, and we found them a rental, and they called me this morning to say everything worked out. They moved in, and they're getting ready to kind of move towards looking to buy. They got good jobs here, solid jobs, and they want to buy eventually. So their timeline for buying was 3 months. So they only wanted to rent for about 6 months, but they know the market is difficult. We've had that conversation a couple times over, and when they know that, they're a little bit happier renting. I mean, at least they'll give it a shot. There's some people that I also helped that wanted to buy right off, and we couldn't find anything they only had it's getting loud. They only had a small amount of time to be able to shop for a house, and they were looking in a really popular area, so we didn't find anything that they could get into fast enough. So they did go ahead and rent, and their house is really cute. It's in the area they want. Their kid is in the school they were hoping for, and then they're going to spend their time checking out everything around here and seeing which area they want. They were looking for any place south, like Fuquay and Holly Springs, all the way up to Wake Forest. So he had a lot of area to cover, and that didn't really work out. But what I'm getting at with all of the rental talk is that there's this thing called farming. And one of the big ways that people tell you to market is to go farm a neighborhood. Find a subdivision that you like the looks of, that you like the price range of, and work that area. And that means door knocking, sending flyers, or putting flyers in the doors, sending mail. And that was one of the things that I was just like, oh, that's gross. That's almost as bad as cold calling. And I'm not gonna knock on somebody's door and bother them and make their dogs bark and wake up their toddler who they finally got a break from. I think it's rude. I wouldn't want that. When I was living at my house in Indianapolis, I had people do that to me every once in a while, and it was like, you're the 5th person this week that has come walk past my house and knocked on my door. I mean, like, I get what you're doing, but no, I'm still not going to sell. It's bad enough that they can text us now, salespeople. And that was one of the things that made me a little slow to get into real estate, is because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that salesy. It's kind of slimy, and I don't like it. So there's other ways to do that aren't, and this is where I was getting at too, kind of for us introverts, because I'm one too. The renters are your farm. And you don't have to door knock. All you have to do is find them a place to live. And maybe you get 5 renters a month, or you place 5 renters a month, and 3 of them can buy later. Maybe one of them needs to work on a little bit of credit. Maybe the other one is probably never going to buy. So you might have 4 out of 5 buyers, depending on how you set everything up and how carefully you pick people that you're going to work with. So when you have your own little mini farm, you don't have to door knock, and you don't have to send out $3,000 a month worth of junk mail people are going to throw away anyhow. That's my thinking, and that's what took me a while, but it finally started to make sense why people do rentals, because they're not, it takes a little bit of work, but if you avoid the paperwork side of it, forego the $50 and just keep in tabs with these people, it's worth it to have their number, to have that good relationship that you already started, because you're helping them out of a jam, because nobody else would help them but you, and you're the only person out there who's willing to help them find a rental, because rentals are not fun. They're kind of annoying, and it would be cool if there was a better way to go about doing it. But I think I've come up with a really good way of doing it. Granted, I'm leaving some money on the table, but it's a little less paperwork for me to try to keep track of and think about while I'm doing the more financially important part, like paying more attention to the transactions or doing all this YouTube stuff, because I've been sold on the YouTube for a while, and I know for a fact these Facebook groups work. All of my transactions this year, except for one, have come from Facebook. Actually, I think all of my transactions except for 5 have come from Facebook alone. The other ones were from the stable I give riding lessons at, and one of my clients were still looking. They're the ones with the unique property that's going to take a bit to find. When you have that going, your farm, your renter farm, text them every once in a while. Hey, what do you need? How did the utilities go? Were you able to find the cable you needed? And those kinds of things. Just check in them. How was school going? Do you need anything else? And a lot of times they'll say something like, well, I need a better internet. What other kind of internet can you find, or is out here? And fortunately, we have Google 5Gs, I think it's 5G. I'm so tech savvy. The 5G is here. Fiber. Google Fiber. I think that's 5G. Anyhow, well, that's moving into the area pretty darn quick. Where I live, they had it installed in 3 weeks. I think it was total. 3 trips working it out. So we have Google Fiber in the area, and they're expanding and making sure that it gets out more into the kind of more suburban areas. It's kind of still in areas some sort of rural-y. That's a hard word to say. Rural. So with that, there's more access to the internet, and because everybody is moving out and away from bigger cities, they're making sure that the internet is more accessible further out into the suburbs. Kind of by a noisy area, sorry about that. Baby crying, not happy at Target. So, renters. Yes, renters are not all that lucrative in the beginning. But just like our farm, actual farm with the hay, it takes a little bit of time. All you have to do is work on it. And if everything goes as planned, for my last batch of renters, I've gotten to meet 2 super sweet, cool families that I like an awful lot that have been successfully rented in the last 2 months. And with those 2 people, one of them is buying next year. Like I said, one of them is buying in the next 6 months. And both of them are capable of buying. They already have approval stuff gone through. Now the one that's going to buy in a year or so, they think at this point that they're going to wait the whole year. But with the way it is with people moving here, I told them, don't stop looking, because even if you don't want it, you find something and you don't want to keep your rental and you want to buy this house, there is a fine chance that I'll be able to find somebody to take over that lease. And I've told them this a couple times over. They don't believe me yet, but I have 10 more people just today looking for a rental in my moving to Raleigh group. Sorry for the noise. So what you can do with renters is turn them into your own mini farm. And it's not a subdivision, but you don't know what kind of buyers they're going to end up being. I have a feeling that my family, who's going to be buying sooner rather than my international family, I have a strong feeling that they're very strong buyers from the things that they've been telling me. And, that would fight. I think I probably spent maybe an hour total on the phone with them. A lot of texting back and forth. They're very sweet people. I very much enjoy them. They make me feel so good on the inside. So I do like my renters. I don't like the paperwork of renting. That part it's more work than it's worth, to be honest. But it would get me gas for a week per renter, I guess. But, this is your own personal farm. These people already like you. They don't want, it's not like you're knocking on their door and making their dogs wake their baby up. It's not spending $3,000 a month on mailers, and I'm a tree hugger too, so I don't want to waste the trees on stuff that's going straight in the garbage. And I know it goes straight in the garbage because when I had my house, I dumped them straight in the garbage. Over and over and over. Even the handwritten envelopes, I threw those away too. And I know a lot of other people who do the same thing, especially if it's from the same person over and over and over and over again. And they've already knocked on your door, and you've already told them no. And it's like, go away. So from my experience being a homeowner, it's obnoxious. So you start your little farm with people that you've already done a good deed for. And a little psychological thing here too is when people feel like you've done them a solid, they feel pleasantly obligated to return the favor. And that's the cool part too, because it's not an unpleasant experience, especially if you've picked the right people to work with. And that can take a little practice here and there. But when you get good at picking the right kind of people that you want to work with, your own mini farm becomes like your own little fan club, and they're more than happy to come back to you, especially if you just text them every once in a while. How's it going? How's school going for Susie? Because by then usually know their kids' names, the dogs' names. Some of their friends have already called you too. And that's another good perk about doing it that way, is that they definitely tell their friends and their families. And there's so many people moving here, and I'm sure in other areas too, where it's not just, so we have a lot of people, for example, better with examples, we have a lot of people that are moving in from New York, and mostly I think I draw the New Yorkers. Also being from the north, it's kind of like we almost talk alike, Chicago and New York. It's kind of home-ish feeling. But we have so many people moving in there, and then the first family moves in, first set of family members move in, then the relatives come and visit, and then the relatives are like, hey, this not winter thing is kind of nice. And then you get more people from New York who want to come over and then work with me, you also, because it'll work for you too. And then they say, the family's like, she helped us out, oh my gosh, it was so great. because nobody would talk to us because we were just looking for a rental and, come use Stacy. So then end up getting their family members. Like my little family that was looking over by Fuquay Holly Springs, they're already trying to get Grandma to move on down here, even though Grandma may not want to. So they're like, they've been talking about that. My international people also have people that want to move over. And, it's just those little things. It's that farming thing. And me being an introvert, I'd rather have a relationship with somebody than just be an obnoxious person that goes around and forces people to talk to me, and that doesn't feel good at all. So I'd rather have that little relationship. And then you start that little relationship, and then it grows into something bigger and cooler. And then you find out what they do for a living, and it turns out you guys can help each other with each other's careers and things that you want to do in life. And, your friends and their friends become friends, and everybody's kids play together, and it's really kind of cool. And those are the solid kind of relationships that you want to build with real estate, because it's not just a one and done. Friends have friends. Families have family members, and then word gets around that you're kind of cool and you're not obnoxious and you're not like that used car salesman that everybody hates, including me and you. Nobody wants to deal with that kind of person. So you get this little group of people that just grow and grow and grow, and it's like that six degrees separation from Kevin Bacon. You start getting more and more good stuff coming to you because of all of that nice little favor. And it honestly doesn't take a whole lot to set somebody up with a rental. It takes maybe 5 minutes to get them into the MLS. They're very eager to talk to anybody who is willing to talk to them, so it's not hard to get their phone number and their email address. They want you to take it. So make a little farm, but don't door knock. Don't pick a subdivision. You want to farm renters because they're pretty darn loyal, and they're usually really great people, and they're very grateful that you gave them a minute. So 5 minutes setting them up in the MLS with what they're looking for in the areas that they're looking for. No big deal. If you want to go ahead, do the paperwork and get the $50, that's fine too. I just didn't have the brain capacity to juggle all that all at the same time. It's another little spooky dark section of Cary. Oh, here's a pretty spot. We'll walk over here. I'll show you a little bit of. This is such a nice place. So you get working with these renters. They like you. They tell their friends. And that's another thing too. Their friends are going to want to come down. Or do want to come down. And they're just waiting. So then you can start having conversations with their friends. And it's people who are automatically going to trust you. And they automatically like you. Because all you do is take that 5 minutes to help them out. And they're usually very grateful about it. I'm going to turn this around, I think. Maybe. Let's see if I can. See? Cute little area. Cary's nice. I do like it. Anyway. And also, by the way, we had a little bit of hurricane storm come through, and it didn't really storm here, so it wasn't bad at all. But it cooled everything down. So it went from 95 degrees, which is painful. And August is the only month that does that, and the only bad, painful weather here is August. It cooled it off so nice. So it's been in the 80s. It's been perfect. So take that, California. We have a lot of people moving over from California, too. By the way, I've been talking to a couple of them, several of them. There's a lot of tech jobs. Anyhow, back to renting and farming. So if you just keep that going, you'll have plenty of people who are going to fill in those gaps of time when the market does the fluctuation thing, the seasonal fluctuation. You'll still have your people that you're working. And I think saying it's farming is rude. It's still people. They're not hay. people that you're helping to make a big change in their life, and it is a big deal. It's a big deal for everybody, and then this job, a lot of it, and this is another reason why it's okay to be an introvert doing real estate, is that a lot of this is helping people manage their fears. So if you're an empathetic introvert, you're already really good at one of the most important parts of it. And it comes down to figuring out the computer side, which for me is kind of hard. And then marketing. I love marketing. It's an artistic outlet, and since I don't have time to draw anymore, or a space to draw really, or do the painting things I really want to paint, it's exciting. So it's an art thing that I get to kind of play with too. And you can do that too. So if you're an artistic, kind of quieter person, you sit back and you observe. Those are the skills that are going to help you, even though it's considered, like being an introvert is not considered cool. They actually help you out quite a bit. The introverted qualities are what people actually really want. They want somebody who's going to listen, and they want somebody who's going to take them seriously, and they want somebody who's going to give them what they ask. A lot of times those extroverts aren't giving people what they ask, they're giving people what they think they want to have, because they're the kind of person that is going to be thinking about, while you're talking, they're the kind of person that are just thinking about what they're going to say instead of hearing what you're saying. And we all know that those people are boorish and tiresome. So this introvert idea, when you work with your renters, these are the things that are going to help you do better. And it's going to pepper in the slow months with stuff to do. And then, you make enough money in a couple of months, sometimes you'll have a little bit stored up. You don't have to worry about the slow months, because hopefully through some of the quicker months you've had maybe a closing every 3 weeks. It's going to get dark here in a minute. I'll go this way. You've had those couple of closings when it was still busy, and you got a little bit of bank saved up. Don't forget, you gotta pay your taxes, so be sure you have stuff off to the side. And I've got a good idea too for another. I've got a banking idea that was shared with me, how to deal with your commission check so you don't run out of money when you need it, and you can put it off to other good deeds. What was I? Farming people. Your renters. During the slow time, work on your videos. Work on looking for renters. There's people looking to rent all the time. And when that part never slows, and that's your future, buyers and sellers. I actually have somebody I sold a house to is already talking about moving, selling to get something bigger. So they came off of Facebook, which is free. So that's if you don't pay for it. So I don't pay for Facebook. I don't pay for. I will be paying for a couple of the Facebook add-ons, but that again, they're both $20, less than $20 a month for the both combined. So rather than $3,000 a month sending out mailers to a subdivision that's going to throw them away, put $20 a month into free advertising and a creative outlet for you, and then people will start calling you instead of you having to call them. And nobody wants to have that phone call. That's no different than getting that phone call from the warranty people. Your car warranty. My car is 25 years old. No, not mine is not, but so anyway, that's a good way to help people and start gathering future income. And the whole thing with farming people, or farming for real, is that it is a long game. Real estate is a long game. It's a relationship building thing, and it's very easy to do with renters because renters want your help, and you want to help people. That's part of the reason why a lot of people did start becoming real estate agents. They want to help people, and not be a paperwork manager, or all the other boring things like harassing people with mailers and cold calling. I have more fun wasting the cold caller's time than I would ever consider anything that they've got to sell me, because I'm not going to buy it anyways, otherwise I would have called them. And that's the thing too. People off of social media, and I'm just starting the YouTube thing, so I can't attest to that one yet, but I sure can tell you Facebook's been good to me, and I have people who want my help, and it's easier to tell them, yes, I can help you, when, you know, you get the feeling that they're going to be good people and they're going to be easy to work with. I have many years of sorting out good clients and bad clients. With that, the good client and the bad client, you get a gut feeling for who is going to be a good client and who is not. Once you have that kind of sorted out, where it's easy for you to figure out whether or not you've got a group of people that are going to be good to work with or no, you just go from there. And then you pick the ones your gut says yes to. Once you've done that, then it's actually not that hard, because they already like you, because they've already spent time listening to what you have to say. You know, your interests and your hobbies are going to be the same. They're watching you on Facebook. They're watching what you're posting in the groups. And I have absolutely found out that, for sure, when you talk about the stuff that you like doing, you're going to come off as more genuine. And people are going to see that. And a lot of times, you know, you might be into something weird. Horses. I'm into horses. Not necessarily weird, but I would say 80% of the people that I've helped are into horses too. So most of my clients are horse people, or have horses, or the kids take riding lessons. And that makes it fun, because again, they already like you from the get-go, and you're not cold calling, and you're not farming subdivisions, which is not okay. Oh, okay, so I'm going over by this pool at this apartment complex, and it looked like there was a horse on the truck, but it's a pool floaty, so it's funny. That's why I couldn't think for a second. I'm sorry. So yeah, you're farming of people, and you're helping people with rentals, and the reason that this came up, the reason why I'm talking about this today, is because I was calling around for this poor kid, the young couple. They haven't been married very long. They're in their early 20s, and they're looking to move here because this kid is an IT guy, and he's got his A+ certification, which I understand is quite difficult, because I have, you know, IT nerdy friends. But the problem that he's finding is that he can't get a place to rent because he's not currently working in Raleigh, and he can't get a job because he doesn't currently live in Raleigh. So it's another one of those life catch-22s, which are awful and throw people for a loop. And then how do you sort that out? Well, you just have to call and talk to people and just ask and kind of beg and plead. So this poor kid calls me, and then I call one of the places that they were looking at that they kind of liked. And I call that real estate agent, and the real estate agent was like, we talked about them for a little while, and he said no. But he's like, why are you still working with renters? How long have you been doing this? And I said, about 3 years. Why are you still working with renters? And I was like, because it's the easiest farming there is. And he's like, oh, well, usually people stop doing that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'm not farming a neighborhood. And I didn't say that to him, but like that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I don't mind helping people every once in a while. I kind of like it. That's all I said to him. But it's true. I like helping people because it's scary, and I've been through it too. I haven't lived here all that long. I just figured out I've lived here for 4 years now, ish. Soon it will be 4 years. So, you know, it is freaky. Nobody wants to help you. Nobody wants to do rentals. Rentals they do take a lot, but it's your mindset about them that makes a big difference. If your mindset is, so this is going to take all this time, and I can't work with my buyers, and I'm going to get $8,000 in 40 days, or I'm going to get $50 in a week. Yes, the math doesn't work out. That's absolutely true. The fun part about it, though, is you get to save the day for somebody. They're going to remember you for like a really long time. And if you just check in on them every once in a while, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Every couple months, you still doing okay? Are things still working out? Do you need a new place? Do we have to start looking? You know, that I have one lady that was the first person I helped ever, and I call her every once in a while, and she's like, Stacy, how are you? Yeah, everything is still working out great. This place is great. We love it here. I love my job. The weather is wonderful. They moved in from Colorado. And they're like, the winters, you're right about the winters. And I'm like, I know, it's so fantastic. I do like the winters here. I've never thought I'd ever say that I liked winter. So, farming, I think I'm going to try and come up with a better word than that, because that's not okay. It feels icky. Working with people who you have your own little club, your own little work club, who you're helping out, and you actually enjoy their time. You know, and here's another thing too. If your gut was, you followed your gut, but your gut was just kind of iffy on it, and you end up not liking that person, that's fine. Just don't talk to them. Don't text, don't call, just leave it. And they'll go find somebody else if they want to down the line, if they end up being too difficult or you end up not liking them. That's okay too. Because there's tons more people who need your help. And if it makes this job so much easier when you're helping people who are grateful for the help and the time. And they understand, like my long-term couple, they understand that I've been doing this for almost a year. I giggled. I had to look up their paperwork just to make sure we were still in the buyer agreement together. And I was like, yeah, we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. We're one month away. So the other day, they asked if they could pay me for my commission now, and I was like, no, because you're the buyer, you don't pay me. I am free to you. So instead of that, one of them is a computer techie person who does marketing. She's going to help me work on some marketing ideas, and she also loves to do trails. In my moving to group, people are always asking where the good hiking trails are. And she is a hiker. I asked her, I was like, oh, I know something. I need to make at least one video of cool places to go hiking in Raleigh, because that's what everybody's asking for. And she's like, oh my gosh, I could be your hiking trail Sherpa. And I was like, oh, yes, exactly, precisely. I need that video. So that's what we're going to do when her leg is all healed up. We're going to go hiking. What a horrible, horrible day at the office to go hiking in Raleigh with the pine trees that smell so good, and with a friend who I really enjoy her company, and we're going to make a video to post on YouTube to show people where to go hiking in Raleigh. Darn it. So that's the kinds of things that when you work on these long-term relationships that end up being super cool and really great and very fulfilling. I did not think when I got my real estate license that this was going to be an emotionally fulfilling job. And I was rather wrong. I do very much enjoy this. I spent a lot of years just hanging out with horses and animals, and which is fulfilling, but I didn't think that people could be too. So, but it is. It's very nice. I enjoy learning what other non-horsey people do with their time. I get to learn that there's a lot of people out there that aren't crazy horse people. So that's a relief. Very glad to know that. And it's fun, and I like it. I like it a lot, and I'm an introvert who would be just as happy spending all my time in a barn with my own horses, but I'm not independently wealthy yet, so gotta kind of hustle. But I don't mind the hustle either, because I like being an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur type person, this is great. If you're an introverted entrepreneur, social media. So the social media thing is super great too, because it is like the wave of the future. Absolutely the wave of the future. Millennials, who everybody wants to give a hard time to, are in their 30s. They're buying houses. Are they going to be looking at mailers and flyers and answering cold calls on their wall phone with the curly cord? Hello? No. What are they doing? Instagram, Facebook, the YouTubes. Some people are saying TikTok. But I am not a good dancer, and I'm not sure I'm that entertaining. At least all the time. I think I need more wine for that level of silly. But TikTok is a good place to find people with gray hair who are funny. There's a lot of them. That's another thing, too. What's super cool about Facebook? The more you are just you, the easier it is to get the job done and find people who are like you, who you want to work with. And they already like you, and you just made some videos, or you just made some posts on a group, and it's not hard. I've definitely got the group thing down pat. I just wish Facebook would quit changing how you manage them. That would make it a little less confusing. That's what Facebook does. So I am a little bit out of things to say about that without just repeating myself over and over again. And the light is not good, and I thought I'd give it a go because it's so beautiful out tonight, and the bugs aren't even crazy. So I was kind of hoping light would stay up longer, but I keep forgetting that this is not Indiana when we are at the opposite end of the time zone, when the sun is still up at 10 o'clock at night. It is 8:46, and it's rather dark. So sad, but nobody's hanging out of here. So again, before I start repeating myself a bunch of times, I'm gonna head out, maybe have a little bit of plum wine or the sake that I've got in the fridge. That kind of sounds like a good idea. Maybe plum wine. I think that sounds good. So I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next week. And maybe we can get some more people in this group. So if you're watching the replay, tell your friends. Tell other people who are thinking about being a real estate agent. Or even anybody that's thinking about an entrepreneur type thing. I'd be more than happy to talk about that too, because that's, real estate is an entrepreneurship. I've been self-employed for 28-ish years, I think it's been a long time. Since I was in my early 20s, late teens, probably more like late teens. So yeah, this entrepreneur thing, it's pretty great. I sure like it, and I think you will too, especially if you're an introvert. So I'm gonna go and have some plum wine. I think that's what I decided. Alright, over and out.